Way we've got developments on the AEW media rights front. Right. Courtesy John Oran, the media rights heavyweight, is weighing in because he put out his twice weekly newsletter over at Puck, and the headline: Zaz on the ropes. You know, wrestling-related pun. It's time to get down to wrestling-related business, and this is straight from his Puck newsletter. These days, David Zaslav is putting some of that $1.5 billion that he saved on the NBA to use. First, there was the French Open deal, then the Savannah Bananas broadcast agreement, plus the CFP, Mountain West football, and Big East basketball packs. Now I'm told that Warner Brothers Discovery is close to finalizing a package to renew Shahid and Tony Khan's All Elite Wrestling. Insiders are telling me that a formal announcement could come as soon as next week, barring any last-minute challenges. It looks like it will be a 4-year deal, 3 years guaranteed, plus an option, and the $170 million per year number floating around wrestling message boards is apparently in the ballpark. So, you know, I think John Oran, he's been scanning all the boards out there, getting a good sense of the average annual value. He goes on to state, according to the parameters of the agreements, AEW matches will air on TNT, TBS, and True TV twice a week, further evidencing Zaz's strategy of making the latter two networks more valuable and sports-oriented in the cable bundle as the potency of TNT declines, sans professional basketball rights. Can WBD survive the renewal wars with a year-round sports lineup that includes October baseball, March Madness, the Stanley Cup, NASCAR, some college football and basketball, a little tennis, made-for-TV golf matches, fake baseball, and now second-tier wrestling? Ouch. We're about to find out. Meanwhile, this deal marks a clear success for AEW, which launched 5 years ago with a threshold WBD deal. AEW is also pitching another package, primarily to broadcast channels. There's no timetable for when AEW will start to push that deal. There's a lot in there. So going with the idea that this is at least a framework for the deal would include TNT and TBS that you would assume would mean Dynamite and Collision staying put. But what would be additional content would be whatever is going to make up this programming on True TV that he is listing at twice a week. Is this going to be reality-based programming? Is this more in-ring content? That remains to be seen, but also giving credence to the idea that after the exclusive negotiating window ended this past summer with WBD and AEW, of AEW shopping to a broadcast network. We have heard the rumors of Fox being out there, whatever iteration of Fox it is. And I guess the other questions here, $170 million per year would be a significant increase over where they are now, but this would also call for more programming as well. So you have to take that cost into account.
And as far as we know, what is the sort of ballpark number that's out there right now that they're currently making?
So the originally pre-Collision, they were getting just under $45 million per year. Then Collision was added. Brandon Thurston's estimate is that took them up to about $70 million per year. But that's also adding another night of production on Saturdays. And so let's go with the idea of 70. You are adding hours of programming here with True TV, but it's still a sizable increase. Like this, in theory, should take AEW. Like the idea of topping, I would say 115 to 120 million. I think once you were well above that figure, like you're talking like a real good spot for AEW. But there is also the big question about the pay-per-view component. There's nothing in here related to Max, at least in John Oran's reporting, and that's a big question mark as we are looking at if that is going to be baked into this upcoming media rights renewal.
Sounds reasonable. Maybe for me, the big surprise is maybe the, I think, several sounds like additional hours of programming that we might be getting attached to AEW television. I suppose when you break it down, I mean, what do we have right now that's out there? It's Dynamite, Collision. Those two can continue to be spread amongst, TBS and TNT. Could a Rampage see its move to True TV? When they say True TV twice a week, do they mean the same programming airing two different times, or could they mean two separate programs airing on True TV.
According to the parameters of the agreements, AEW matches. I don't know if that's just John Orand, like just colloquially referring to AEW programming as matches, or if he's it sounds specific to like this is in-ring content.
Okay.
Would air on TNT, TBS, and True TV twice a week. It's a little ambiguous.
Yeah,
I don't know if you would be just replaying a show twice a week, or if it's going to be new content that is airing twice per week. But let's go with the idea that this could, in theory, just with those three networks, you're probably looking at 6 hours of possibly 6 hours of original programming there. Yeah. And could be more, it could be less, but we're looking at that neighborhood. The idea of another component if they strike a deal with something outside of WBD, and as well, like the Ring of Honor question is Ring of Honor somehow worked into any of this?
Could that be considered the deal outside of WBD? I mean, that's not the rumor, I suppose. The rumor is whatever the shockwave thing is, right?
I don't know how much interest you're going to have in an ROH outside. I mean, there was an interest of ROH inside. All we know is that CW did kick the tires on ROH programming. But, I mean, that could be something in all of this as well. The key thing is $170 million. But, again, that goes against what are your increased costs. I mean, if you're talking about the idea of another program, like let's say they get an FS1 deal, a 2B deal. Like if you have to add another night of taping, like that's taking on even more cost at that point. Like how much can you work into 2 nights of tapings given all of these hours that you are responsible for?
Sure. For the 170 million though, it may be hard for me to think that they would add a whole additional night to provide that. I mean, I think at present they have 2 separate tapings of which they could produce 2 different programs. You have your, mainline Collision and Dynamite, and then the hour before or afterwards that you could use to film matches for a Rampage or potentially this new show. And that they're currently using to, for a mixture of Ring of Honor, and that, you can clearly use that space instead of for Ring of Honor for something else. And I mean, it all sounds like it's really good news if this, this report turns out to be true for AEW.
Like this is going to put them into a very advantageous position. Like there is not going to be any of this is AEW. Like Tony Khan had stated when asked at the last media call about this deal taking them to become the second most profitable company in wrestling history behind WWE. And he said it would, maybe not year 1 of the new deal, but I'm paraphrasing, within the lifetime of the deal. Like there is still, year 1 of this deal might not fully get them to profitability, but maybe that is a realistic goal by 2026 when there's escalators into this deal and such. But this, like if you were to tell me 170 million, I think that would be a really satisfying amount, given still some of the holes we have in this.
They're also operating at this point at a pretty high frequency of pay-per-views that I think the audience has kind of grown accustomed to. Like we're talking about like pretty good, what, 90,000 for All Out? Is that the number that's out there right now?
I can't recall what the ballpark is, but that's a relative, yeah.
Like, it's a really high frequency of pay-per-views that they're putting out there at a pretty high cost. And I think they're probably very profitable for this company. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that pay-per-views aren't being mentioned as part of this report tells me that that's still something that we have to await news for. If you like this video, consider joining our Patreon, the Post Wrestling Cafe. Multiple bonus podcasts every week, ad-free shows, and access to our full archive. Otherwise, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Thank you for watching.